What if the thing that is making you the most money is the same thing that is keeping you from your next level? I want you to think about it. Do you have a program, a client, or a partnership that although it's still producing, there's something in you that knows that it's off? Yet every time you think about letting it go, your brain gives you 10 logical reasons that you should keep it. But if you're being honest, your spirit has been telling you to dump it for months. Now, if you have been arguing with yourself about something that still works, although it no longer fits in your life or business, this episode is for you. Hey, I hate to interrupt the goodness that's happening right now in this episode, but I need you to do me a quick favor. If this episode is blessing your life and business right now, would you please take a few minutes to rate and review the show? Listen, your words will help more seven-figure CEOs and seven-figure CEOs in the making find us and make the move to their next level. All right, thank you so much. Now, let's get back into the conversation because we were literally just getting this party started. In episode 1 of this series, I talked about the pruning that I chose, the things that I put down during my gap year, the revenue that I walked away from, and the identity that I released. In episode 2, we talked about the pruning that happens to you. You know, the sudden loss, the doors that close without your permission, the client story that reminded you that sometimes the thing being taken is actually the ceiling that is being removed. But this episode is the one I have been building up to because this is the pruning that requires you to look at something that is still producing, still profitable, still working on paper, and decide that it no longer belongs in your future. This is the hardest pruning decision a CEO will ever make. Not because the thing is bad, but because the thing is good enough to keep you stalled. Here is what most business strategists will not tell you. Good is the enemy of aligned. Profitable is the enemy of purposeful. And if you do not learn to tell the difference between something that works and something that belongs, you will spend the next 3 years optimizing a season that God finished for you a long time ago. You are watching or listening to the Move to Millions podcast. I am your host, Dr. Darnyelle, the founder and CEO of Incredible One Enterprises, a business transformation company, and the creator of several life and business changing frameworks, including the Move to Millions method. It is season 7, and this is episode 3 of the pruning season on this podcast. Now, if you happen to be just finding us, I want you to go back to episode number 1. The series is sequential and every episode builds on the last. This series is for you if you've been praying for your next level, but have not been willing to put down the thing that is more than likely blocking it. It's for you if your business is still working, but something inside of you has already shifted and you have been ignoring the whisper. It's for you if you are exhausted, not because you're doing too much, but because you are doing too much of what should have already ended. And this series is for you if your circle has started to feel smaller, quieter, or less aligned, and you are not sure whether that means something is wrong or something is growing. And the series is for you if you know that the next version of your leadership requires a version of you that does not yet exist, and it terrifies you. Now, I want to go deeper into something that I started in episode number 1. I told you what my gap year cost me, the revenue, the programs, the clients, the team. What I did not tell you is how long I knew before I finally did something about it. Because the truth is, I did not wake up one day and suddenly realize that things were misaligned. No, the misalignment had been whispering for a while, for at least 6 months, if not longer. But things were still working. And when something is still working, it gives you permission to ignore the whisper. I mean, I told myself I was being dramatic, that every entrepreneur feels restless sometimes. And that answer to that is discipline, not disruption. I told myself, I'll do it next quarter, after the launch, after the event, after the contract renewed, after the year is over. And every single one of those stories had enough truth in them to keep me right where I was. Here's what I finally had to admit to myself. I was not staying inside of my business because it was aligned. I was staying in it because it was proof. Proof that I could build something that worked. Proof that people wanted what I had to offer. Proof that I belonged at this level. Proof that I was not a fraud or an imposter. You know how we glorify the if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I wasn't fixing it because it wasn't broke, except it was. Just not the kind I wanted to admit. My ego didn't want me to admit it because for 15 years, I've been running the same programs, living the same rinse and repeat life. I mean, I could do it in my sleep. And that's the place we're all trying to get to, right? Now, when I realized that I was holding on to a business decision because of an identity need, everything changed. Because as long as I let the revenue tell me whether I was on the right track, I was never going to hear God tell me that it was time to move. Now, if you're not a new listener, you have likely heard me say before, when God wants to get your attention, He will go for your money. Here's what I need you to know and understand. Revenue is not confirmation. Revenue is compensation. And sometimes God compensates you for a season that is already over. That was the truth that I had to face. And if you're sitting in front of something that is still profitable, but no longer aligned, that might be the truth that you need to face too. Now, let me tell you why I know this works. Because I didn't just live it. I coached many others through it as well. About 2 years ago, I worked with a client who was running a program that by every external measure was successful. It was generating strong revenue. It had a great reputation. It had demand. She had a wait list. But at the same time, she was experiencing something that her numbers could not explain. She was uncomfortable. Now, not the kind of uncomfortable that comes from being stretched. I'm talking about the kind that comes from remaining the same when everything inside of you has already shifted. Her work had evolved. Her thinking, it evolved. Her leadership, yup, you guessed it, it evolved. But her business model, no, it was still the same. She was still delivering a program that reflected who she used to be way back when, not who she had effectively become. But doing anything about it was not her goal. She said sometimes it has to be that way and that she would be a fool to close that extremely profitable program. Does that sound familiar? Here's what I know. Her ego did not want her to see it because the program was proof. It was evidence that she had built something real, and letting it go felt like erasing all of the receipts. But here is what happened when she finally made the decision with my coaching, guidance, and support. She released the program and she built something new that was fully aligned with where her leadership and her soul had grown to. And for the very first time, the very first launch that she did of her new offer, she doubled her best launch ever. Yes, there is a reason that your strategy feels stalled, and it's spiritual. Discover your divine wiring, which informs how you lead, where you're sabotaging, and how to make the shift to scale with the Move to Millions Ascension Archetypes quiz. In just 3 minutes, you'll learn what's really blocking your money, your momentum, and your mission. Take the quiz today at movetomillionsquiz.com. Doubled it. I mean, not because our marketing was better, not because the funnel was smarter, but because alignment is real. And alignment has a frequency that your audience can feel. She did not need a new strategy. She needed permission to evolve, permission for her work to evolve, and permission to decide that she no longer desired what she had become famous for. Does that feel familiar? I know that's what I've been dealing with and what I'm working through as I continue through my gap year. And sometimes that is all your pruning season is trying to give you. Permission to become who you already are so that your business can finally reflect it. Woo! Somebody might need to take a deep breath. So how do you know, right? How do you tell the difference between something that is still producing and something that still belongs? I want to give you some signs. There are 5 signs I believe that will indicate to you whether or not you should keep doing the thing that by all accounts is profitable, successful, etc., even though your soul is crying out for your next evolution. Sign number 1, the energy it takes to deliver no longer matches the energy it returns. There was a season when the offer energized you, when the work itself fed you, when you got off of a call and you felt like you could do cartwheels or run a marathon. right? You felt more alive than before you got on that call. And now the opposite is true. The work still gets done. The results are still there, but you leave every interaction a little bit more depleted and irritated than you were when you started. It's not burnout, y'all. It's misalignment. Burnout is about volume. Misalignment is about assignment. You cannot rest your way out of burnout. You cannot rest your way out of misalignment. The only cure for misalignment is decision. Sign number 2. Your vision for the future no longer includes it. This one is quiet. You will not notice it until someone asks you where you see your business in 2 years, and the thing that you are currently running does not show up in the answer. You are planning around it. You are building towards something else. Oh my goodness. But here's what I want you to understand. The current thing is still consuming your time, your energy, and your capacity, even though you have technically moved on. If your vision moved and your business did not, that gap is misalignment. Sign number 3, you keep modifying it instead of evaluating it. This was one of my resistance patterns from episode number 1. You rebrand the offer, you restructure the delivery, you change the pricing, you tweak the marketing, you hire someone new to manage it. You keep making adjustments because the adjustments feel like you're being productive. But being productive is not the same as being purposeful. And if you have modified the same thing 3 or more times in 12 months or less, and it still doesn't feel right, the issue is not the structure. The issue is the season that you're in, and it is time to go. Where was this episode years ago when I needed to change my programming? Okay, sidebar. Sign number 4, you defend it more than you enjoy it. I want you to pay attention to what happens when someone asks you about it. When a friend asks how the program is going, or when your coach asks if it still fits, when your spouse asks why you seem tired after every delivery week. If your first instinct is to defend it, to explain why it still makes sense, to list the reasons that it should stay, that defensiveness right there is data. Because when something is genuinely aligned, you do not need to convince anyone, including yourself. You know, I always say when God gives you something, it don't need batteries. And if you find yourself putting batteries in your offer, let that be a clue that it is time to prune. And sign number 5, you are afraid of what it means to stop. This is the deepest one, y'all. And it is the one that most CEOs do not want to admit. You are not staying because it is aligned. You are staying because stopping means confronting a version of yourself that you have not met yet. The version of you who does not have that particular offer. The one that doesn't have that particular revenue stream. The one that does not have the thing to point to as evidence of your being and identity. It becomes unproven. It creates vulnerability. But here's what you need to understand. That version is also the one that your next level requires. Now, I want to name the lies that I hear. Listen, lies that I have said myself, if I'm being honest, in this particular season, because there are 3 specific lies that keep CEOs holding on to things that have expired. And every single one of them sounds like wisdom. And before I name them, I want to give you something that will help to ground this. I'm always looking at the research because this is not just a spiritual issue. This is a documented leadership pattern. According to McKinsey, who conducted a study of more than 500 CEOs and senior executives, they found that 47% of leaders default to tactical adjustments, things like pricing changes, process optimization, and incremental tweaks, rather than making the bold strategic moves the moment actually requires. 47%. Nearly half of all leaders is basically what I'm saying. When faced with a moment that calls for a real shift, choose to adjust instead of release. So you are not alone. But here's the other side of that. Among the companies that consistently outperform their peers, 83% of their leaders encourage their teams to test new ideas, releasing what was not working and rebuilding from there. Now, here was what was interesting. The outperformers were not better at optimizing. They were better at letting go. So I'm hoping that you're learning a lesson as we continue through this pruning season series. So when I tell you that holding on to a profitable but misaligned offer is a pattern, I want you to know that I'm speaking not just from personal experience, but I'm also telling you what the data confirms. The leaders who scale are the ones who are releasing. Can that fit on a t-shirt? We should try to get that on a t-shirt. Let me say that one more time. The leaders who scale are the ones who release. The ones who stall are the ones who keep adjusting. Now, let me give you the 3 lies. Lie number 1. If it is still making money, it must still be right. This is the most common one, and it's the most dangerous because it turns revenue into theology. It makes profit the arbiter of purpose, and it assumes that God's direction and the market's compensation are always the same thing. They are not. Sometimes things keep making money long after the assignment has ended. So we cannot just make the money the reason why we keep it, right? Sometimes the market rewards you for the old thing while God is calling you to the new thing. And if you cannot separate what is profitable from what is purposeful, if you cannot discern and hear God's voice, then you will always choose the check over the calling and revenue as data. But keep in mind that revenue is just data. It is not direction. Lie number 2. Letting go means I wasted the time I invested. No. Letting go means the time was served and that its purpose was served and the purpose is now complete. You did not waste the years that you spent building the offer. Those years built your skill, your reputation, your authority, your receipts. They build your ability to serve at the level that you serve. But seasons are not meant to be permanent. We've all heard it. Reason, season, lifetime. Very few things are lifetime. A thing can be right for 3 years and wrong for the 4th. That does not erase the 3 years, right? It honors them by not forcing the 4th. And lie number 3, I do not know what comes next, so I should just keep what I have. This is the lie that keeps most CEOs in a stall pattern because it sounds responsible. It sounds wise. It sounds like you're being a good steward protecting what has been built. But can we be honest about what it actually is? It's the fear of the gap between what was and what will be. The space where the old thing is going and the new thing has not fully arrived. And here is the truth about the gap. The gap is not empty. The gap is where clarity is forged. The gap is where identity is rebuilt. The reason I extended my gap year and decided not to launch this year is because I need more time to get crystal clear so that when I come back in 2027, I am coming back fully aligned, fully evolved, and ready to give God something to bless, right? Here's what we have to understand. The gap is where God does the work that cannot happen while your hands are full. You will never see what is next if you are still holding what is now. Can I get a witness up in here? Listen, you are not afraid to let it go. You are afraid of who you are without it. And that right there is the real pruning, because pruning was never about the offer or the program or even the revenue. Pruning is about the identity that was attached to those things. And until you are willing to release the identity, you will keep rebuilding the same thing in a different package, and you'll be wondering why it still does not feel right. Now, I want to give you something practical, because here's what I know. If you cannot ground this in your reality right now, then it might not stick. And I do not want you to leave this episode knowing you need to let something go, but not having a real framework for deciding what stays and what goes. So I like to call this the alignment audit. 4 simple questions. And I want you to run everything in your business right now through them. Okay, here we go. Question number 1. Does this still energize me, or does it only compensate me? Ooh. If the only reason you are running the program is because it pays you, I'm sorry, that is information and that is not reason enough. Payment without purpose always has an expiration date. And the longer that you operate past that date, the more it will cost you in ways that do not show up on your balance sheet or your profit and loss statement. Question number 2. Does this serve the version of me I am becoming, or the version of me I am leaving behind? Oh, another good one. This one requires that you be honest, because some of what you are running was designed by a version of you that does not exist anymore. Oh my gosh, listen, y'all. I'm talking to myself as I'm talking to you. The offer was perfect for who you were 3, 5, 7, even maybe 10 years ago. But you are not her or him anymore. And forcing the new you to run the old thing like it's like wearing a coat that no longer fits and wondering why you can't breathe. Question number 3. If I were starting from scratch today, would I build this? Ooh, this one is the clarity question. Strip away the sunk costs, strip away the testimonials, strip away the brand recognition, strip away the revenue history. If you were starting over right here, right now, with what you know today, with who you are today, would you choose this? If the answer is no, the only reason that you are still doing it is momentum. And I'm going to be honest, momentum is not the same as alignment. And question number 4, what becomes possible if this is no longer on my plate? Ooh, don't skip this one. This is the good one. Most CEOs spend all their time calculating what they lose if they let something go. Very few spend time calculating what they gain. Oh, what capacity opens up, what energy returns, what creative space emerges, what conversations actually become possible at this point. How about what offers can finally be built and what relationships can finally be prioritized in the business or outside of the business? The cost of letting go is visible, but the cost of holding on is often invisible. And the invisible cost is almost always higher. I want you to run those 4 questions against everything in your business this week. The offer that came to mind while I was talking, you already know. Now, I want to show you why you are holding on, because every CEO has a very specific reason that they resist this particular kind of pruning. And yours, believe it or not, is predictable. Now, if you haven't guessed it by now, I'm talking about my Ascension Archetype quiz, which I created to help you to answer one question. What is really keeping you from 7 figures? When you take the quiz, you will learn how you are divinely wired and how that wiring is impacting the way that you lead, the way that you scale, the way that you relate to money and success. And you will also learn how you are currently sabotaging your next level. Now, when you take the quiz, it's only 3 minutes to take the quiz, by the way. You'll learn which of the 5 archetypes is yours. You might be the performer, the producer, the pathmaker, the powerhouse, or the prophet. And you'll open the door to a world of insights that will shift the way that you lead in your life and your business. You can take the quiz really quickly in just 3 minutes at movetomillionsquiz.com. All right, let me break this down for you based on the archetypes. See yourself here, then once you take the quiz, come back and put it all together for yourself. If you are a performer, you hold on because the thing is visible. It is what people know you for. It is the stage, the signature program. It is the thing that keeps your name in the rooms that you are not in. And letting it go feels like you're disappearing. Your fear is not losing revenue. Your fear is losing relevance. But relevance that is attached to an expired assignment is not authority. It is a costume. And you were not built to wear a costume. You were built to embody your calling at the next level. Okay? All right. If you are a producer, you hold on because you're the one who built it. Every system, every process, every workflow, it is your original design in architecture. And releasing it feels like tearing down a building that you constructed with your very own hands. Your fear is not losing the thing. Your fear is the time that you spent building it being wasted. But let me be clear, it was not wasted. It built you. Now let it go so you can build what comes next. If you are a path maker, you hold on because you keep seeing ways to make it work. You are creative and innovative if you are not anything else. And you're like, one more pivot, one more variation, one more angle. Your gift is true vision. But in this season, your gift is working against you because the vision that you keep trying to generate is not innovation. It is avoidance. You are creating new versions of the same exact thing because you don't want to grieve the original. But here's what you need to do. You need to stop pivoting and you need to start releasing. If you are a powerhouse, you hold on because letting go feels like losing a battle and giving up control. You took this hill, you fought for it, you bled for it. You walking away from it feels like surrender. Oh, and powerhouses don't like to surrender. But this is not a battlefield, it's a garden. And in a garden, the gardener decides what stays and what goes. You are not losing ground. You are making room. Oh, let that breathe, powerhouses. All right. And if you are a prophet, you hold on because you see the potential that it still carries. You can see what it could become. You can see the version of it that would be so good, that would be extraordinary. And the thought of releasing it feels like giving up on a vision that has not fully materialized. But here's what I need you to hear, and hear me really, really good. Not every vision is yours to carry to completion. Some visions were given to you for a season. They taught you something powerful. They built something amazing in you, and now the assignment is complete. The next vision is waiting, but it cannot materialize and arrive while you are still holding the last one. Now, if you have not taken the quiz, do yourself a favor and take a quiz. This is the episode where it matters most because the reason you are holding on is hiding inside of your strengths and how you're wired. So again, I implore you to go to movetomillionsquiz.com. 3 minutes. It's totally free. Know your pattern before it costs you another year. Now, before we close, I want to leave you with this. Alignment is not a luxury. It is the only metric that your next level actually respects. Revenue will follow alignment. It always does, but alignment will never follow revenue. Did you hear that? Let me say that one more time. Alignment will never follow revenue. You cannot buy your way into purpose. You cannot optimize your way into calling. At some point, you have to put down the profitable thing and trust that what comes next will be greater than what you released. Not because you can see it, but because you trust the one who asked you to let it go. Listen. I believe in you, and I believe that it's time to prune that very thing that's coming up for you right now. 3 things I want you to do this week. Number 1, if you haven't done so already, take the Ascension Archetype quiz at movetomillionsquiz.com. Understand the specific reason your archetype is holding on, because until you name the pattern, you cannot break it. Number 2, I want you to run the alignment audit. 4 questions against every major thing in your business. Does it energize or compensate? Does it serve who you are becoming or who you were? Would you build this today, and what becomes possible without it? And number 3, name the thing out loud to someone you trust. Is it an offer, a program, a client, a role, a business? Whatever came to mind while I was talking. Stop carrying it in silence. Naming it is the first step to releasing it. Trust me, pruning is for you. Pruning is promotion. Keep that in mind. Say this with me. Profitable is not the same as aligned. I release what no longer serves my assignment. My next level is waiting on the other side of this prune. I'm so proud of you for doing that. Now, in the next episode in the pruning season series, we're going to talk about something that happens after the release that almost nobody warns you about. Oh, the loneliness. Because when you start making decisions like these, your circle is going to change. The people who understood the old version of you do not always understand the new one. And you might already be experiencing this. The rooms that once felt like homes start to feel like cages. The conversations that used to feed you start to feel like noise. And for a season, the path forward feels quieter than you expected. This is not failure. This is pruning, doing the deeper work that it was designed to do. And we're going to talk about how to navigate all of it without shrinking back to where you used to be in the next episode. Trust me when I tell you, you want to be right here, plugged in for it. Until I see you next time, remember, millions are your birthright. And to access them, you need only move. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Thank you for joining me for the Move to Millions podcast. Every seven-figure CEO has a divine design, and yours is waiting to be revealed. Take the Ascension Archetype quiz today at movetomillionsquiz.com, and you'll uncover how you're wired for wealth and what needs to shift in order for you to make the move with grace and ease instead of hustle and grind. Now, if this episode blessed you, do me a favor, subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. And always remember, millions are your birthright, and to access them, you need only move. Take care.